All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Golf and Politics. This is our part 2 episode of recapping our trip to Ireland. We're going to focus mostly here on Ballybunion. Rob, this is such a fantastic course. Let's first watch a clip of us. This is Gerard asking us about the Cashen course, not the old course, but the Cashen course. And we'll get into some details on how that course came to be at Ballybunion.
Yeah, I think it's been is very, very difficult in the conditions that we played it in today.
Yeah. What did everybody think of the new holes by them?
I thought they were great.
My GPS watch had not updated the yardages on one of them, and I thought I was 180 yards and I was 120, so that didn't work out too well. But other than that, it was great.
Hit a 5-iron like earlier.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. The greens, of course, are bigger and everything. But like Rob Elsworth said earlier on, and we were talking. I mean, Trent Jones did a great job, given the small piece of property he had to work with, and he did it from a horse, over the budget and budget as well, So we were extraordinarily lucky, to have one of the top architects in the world who was extraordinarily generous with his time and what he charged us for. So, as Aidan said, the diamond is a little rough, and we're just basically polishing it now, and we are really optimistic about what's the change that it's going to make to the Cashen course. Some people might argue that it might end up even being the better course, and you don't see any real estate down there, you don't see any traffic down there. It's just you and the elements, and that's us.
So, Rob, the Cashen course is going through a redesign by Tom Watson, but why don't you talk a little bit about just this course, how it started in the 70s, and a little bit about Robert Trent Jones and how he designed it, and some of the interesting ways that he had to go about building this golf course.
Right, and Trent Jones, said, I've given you a diamond, it's your job to polish it. It's something along those lines where, they didn't have much of a budget for him to come in and do everything he wanted to do, but he did as much as he could. And there are a lot of people who prefer the Cashen course to the old course. I think that if you look at the scale of the dunes on the Cashen course, it's really quite remarkable. I mean, they're absolutely massive. Tom Watson, who is, Mr. Ballybunion, if you will, just renovated 4 holes, and they're going to be doing this in stages instead of closing the whole course down for a year or year and a half like most people do in the States. They're going to do it in stages over time, and he's really not changing the routing so much as he is moving tee boxes around and adjusting the fairways, switching up sight lines, moving some bunkers, maybe finding new locations for green sites, just to mix it up a little bit and make it both an enjoyable course for the members to play every day, because the members tend to play Cashen probably more than the old course, but also bringing the scale up to modern technology and making it so that they can use the course for club tournaments and for better players to enjoy it as much as they do the old.
I really like the Cashen course, but back to our discussion about how did you play and some of the emotions. It was really, really windy, and I think I had just reached my limit. I mean, as much as I love golf and as much as I play, I think I was just out of gas. It was the worst. It's probably the worst round I shot while we were there, but that back 9 was just absolutely brutal. But the new redesign is great. I mean, widening some of the greens, making it a little more playable, I thought was a good move. Well, let's shift the discussion here. We're going to watch 2 videos back to back. One of Rob talking about what makes the old course so wonderful and about bringing you in, and Gerard talking about that as well. And then also a discussion about, is Ballybunion the best course that we played while we were in Ireland?
I think holes should wean you in. Sometimes we get unfairly criticized, I think, in that the front 4 or 5 are mundane or whatever. But I think golf courses should lead you in.
Around just real quick, anybody here doesn't think Ballybunion is the best course we played on the trip? Everybody in agreement on that?
St. Patrick's for me is a very close. Very close.
And it's highly ranked in the world, so that's a fine
I
thing.
love St. Patrick's. At the time, I said this is was the best course I played on earth. And then after this morning's round, the old course here at Ballybunion.
Okay, Rob, this next clip is Casey talking about how he could not calm the nerves. For whatever reason, he just was so excited to play. I mean, Casey and I have been playing golf together since, I guess it'd be since the fall of 2000 is when we first met. So almost 25 years, Casey and I have been very, very good friends. We've played a lot of golf together. And Casey is somebody that I could tell you, like, is always cool under fire. Just never got really nervous in high school or in college golf. Even now, just always under control with his emotions. And I think he bogeyed 5 of the first 6 holes at Ballybunion. And one of the reasons that my round went to pot is I was even par after 6 holes. And Casey was frustrated. And he looks at me and he says, you know, if we have to depend on you for this whole round, it's going to be a long day. And my confidence was completely shaken right then and there. Like, thanks a lot, pal. You know, why not just say, hey, you were playing great. And, you know, I'm glad you're carrying us. He didn't have to say it the way he said it. But nevertheless, let's watch this clip about him not being able to calm his nerves.
Because Casey, I mean, you felt a little something when you walked on the first tee at Ballybunion.
Oh, dude, you walk in the clubhouse, you pull up out front. So you pull up out front, you see the Ballybunion sign. I was so nervous for 5 holes. I was 5 over after 5 holes because I couldn't calm my nerves.
Okay, Rob, one of the things that I felt when I stepped onto the property of Ballybunion was just the history. It's the same thing you feel when you step onto a Pine Valley or a Pebble Beach, or even RTJ, like playing RTJ this past week, knowing that the Solheim Cup was just there. You feel something different, don't you? I mean, I don't even know if I can explain it, but maybe you sometimes can be a little better with words. Maybe you can explain it.
Yeah, you know intuitively that you're about to do something special, that you're about to play somewhere that the best golfers in the history of the game have played and have funny stories to tell about it and joyous stories and nightmares from playing the same shots that you're about to attempt. And so the key is don't let that moment overwhelm the fact that it's still a game and you still have to just make the same swings and hit the same shots. And the only thing I would compare it to is, like, you know, not from personal experience, but just from watching Super Bowls, is great NFL players who are studs in the regular season and maybe even in playoff games. And when they get to that Super Bowl, that game just goes faster. Everything moves faster. Everything's bigger. Everything's brighter. And sometimes people get lost in that moment and forget, hey, you know, I'm a pretty good football player. Like, I've been doing this since I was 8 years old. Like, I know what I'm doing. So, you know, for me, when I tee off at Pine Valley or RTJ or Ballybunion or just a local muni, I'm still thinking about, you know, my regular process to hit a ball. Because at the end of the day, you're just hitting a golf ball. And you have to get yourself into that mindset and not think that everything is different because I'm playing somewhere famous or expensive or hard to get to. You know, just play your game. And usually after a couple holes, people shake off the awe of the experience. Pine Valley, it's tough to do that because all 18 holes are so hard that, it's tough, especially the first time through, debating, should I be taking 20 pictures a hole on my iPhone or should I be thinking about where I want to hit my next shot?
I know.
And Ballybunion does that to you as well because it's so beautiful.
Right.
And it's a breathtaking walk. And sometimes playing golf ruins it. But, you know, you just hit the ball and remember why you're there in the first place.
Well, let's watch this next clip. I believe Ballybunion has the best collection of par threes of any course I've played, and so let's watch a clip about the par threes of Ballybunion.
Have you ever played a golf course that has a better set of 5 par threes than Ballybunion? Anywhere in the world.
5 par
Yeah.
threes?
Because there's 5 par threes at Ballybunion, and I think they are.
I would put it the best in the world for 5 par threes. Of courses with 4 or 5, the only other 2 in the same ballpark would be world number 1 Pine Valley and world number 2 Cypress Point. But if you're competing with those 2, and the big difference here is you can get on Ballybunion. You can schedule and get your way on and play Ballybunion. And I would put it ahead of those 2 on par threes because it has that extra par 3. They all 5 go in different directions. So you're playing 5 different par threes of 5 different lengths in 5 different wind directions. Nowhere else on earth has that can say that.
Okay, Rob, this next clip discusses how challenging Ballybunion is, and I want to go ahead and put it in perspective for our listeners. We had a foursome. You were +2 handicap. Nick Kirsch, +2 handicap. Casey Lang is a 1, and I'm a 4. And so, I mean, it's a pretty decent group of golfers. We shot 81, 82, 81, 82. And I don't feel like any of us played horrible. Yeah, there's some shots we could have back. It's just challenging. And the wind starts blowing off the ocean and mistakes are punished. Let's go ahead and watch this clip about how challenging the golf course is.
Ballybunion is a challenging course.
Yes.
And it does require, and I think to your point earlier on, like it's probably unfortunate that the people only play it once. They should really play it twice.
So, Rob, we heard there that Jared says people really should play Ballybunion twice. I mean, I'm all for playing Ballybunion a lot more than just twice. I'd like to play it a lot. You've played it more than once, so tell me a little bit about how you've adjusted through the rounds that you've played there.
Right. So it's important to get those extra rounds in because the first time you play it, it's sensory overload. You're taking in the history that the caddies are providing. Tom Watson hit a shot here. President Clinton hit a shot there. Jack Nicklaus hit it into the cemetery off the first tee. And you're looking at the ocean and you're just taking it all in. And so it's almost like the last thing you remember to do is to play golf. And the more you play it, I think the more aggressive you can start to get. It is a demanding course, and unlike St. Patrick's, it is demanding off the tee. It's really demanding on the second shot. And oh, by the way, if you don't hit a good second shot, it's demanding around the greens. And because it's right on the coast, and in that particular section of Ireland, you get just swirling winds. I don't really feel like there's a prevailing wind there. They'll say there is, but for me, every time I play it, it feels like the wind is swirling. So a lot of times you're guessing. And, for me, like I always need to be aggressive, even if I'm laying up, even if I'm hitting to the fat part of the green. I try to hit aggressive shots to safe spots.
Right.
And when the wind is swirling, sometimes you might lay off it a little bit and you'll get a spinner that kind of goes out of control and ends up in the hinterlands. Literally.
I had one on, I can't remember the hole off the top of my head. Back 9. It's the little brother, big brother set of par threes.
14 and 15, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm hitting a 4-iron. And I don't feel like I made that bad of a strike. I had 81 yards for my second shot on a par 3 off of a dune. So like the wind can come and get you in a heartbeat. Well, Rob, why don't you tell our listeners who Ernie Ransom is, if they don't know golf history, and who is Ernie Ransom?
Yeah, Ernie Ransom was the longtime president of Pine Valley Golf Club and also was a co-founder of my home club, Robert Trent Jones Golf Club, with Bobby Russell, who was the longtime president of Baltusrol outside of New York City. and they co-founded RTJ. But Ernie Ransom also was a huge just lover of Ireland, Irish golf, Ballybunion. Our friend Gerard Burke is a huge fan of Gerard's, who led many a trip for Ernie. And Ernie Ransom is really the impetus for the Ransom Cup, which is an annual event between Ballybunion and Pine Valley in the U.S. And because of Ernie Ransom and several other members of ours at RTJ, there's also a close relationship between Ballybunion and RTJ, and so it really has become kind of a sister club for us in Ireland. And a lot of that is because of guys like Ernie Ransom and Gerard Burke and another good friend of mine, Ed McMahon, who recently passed away from cancer, who was a member at both clubs and really did a lot to make sure that, members traveled to play both courses every year and developed an affinity with the staffs at both clubs and the local communities too, as far as the restaurants go and all of that. And it's really one of the beautiful things about the game of golf is building those friendships and relationships with people from all over the world, and getting a chance not only to visit them and learn more about their courses, but their culture, their way of life, and vice versa.
Well, let's watch two clips back to back. This is from Aidan, who works for Ireland Travel Links and was the former secretary of Ballybunion Golf Club and truly an expert on the history of Ballybunion. So let's watch these two clips from Aidan.
A match with Pine Valley. It's called the Ransom Cup. So where it all started is back in 1985. Our captain back then was Tom O'Keefe, Michael O'Connell, who was a past captain, and Sean Welch, who was the secondary manager. You see, this is East Captain's Club in 1993. They went to America to promote overseas membership. So they ended up meeting Ernie Ransom through a mutual friend, and he invited them open arms to come to Pine Valley, and they played a 6-ball in Pine Valley, and that's how basically the relationship started up. He came back, Ernie Ransom came back with John Campbell back the same year. They went over in March. He came back around April and played Ballybunion for the first time and loved it. Fell in love with the place. Between our overseas committee back then and John Campbell came up with the idea in 1988 when Ernest Ransom retired as president of Pine Valley to have a Ransom Cup in his honour, a biennial match every 2 years. Home and away. There's this crystal trophy here. It's a water crystal trophy. It was brought over in 1988, and the pine comes from Pine Valley. There's a water crystal. He brought it over to Ernie Ransom, and Ernie Ransom liked it so much that he said, "I'm keeping that here. I'll pay for a replica." So this is we have two exact.
Who does all the winning?
Home team generally win. All these guys here, obviously, are honorary members. It's hard to become. There's only about 29 honorary members in the club now. It's pretty hard to become an honorary member here. It's 29 people in 130 years. So, wow.
All right, Rob, this next clip, Ballybunion, the old course used to be 9 holes, and it used to be a different yardage. And so let's check out this clip from Aidan talking about what the golf course used to look like.
John A. McCauley, he was the former president of the club, so his original set of clubs, 1917. And we have to pay, these clubs would have been made by Tom Allen, who was the club maker. He's the longest serving member of staff in this club. He started in 1911. They finished in 1968.
The question is, when he was playing these clubs, what was the total yardage of the golf course at that time?
I'm not so sure that.
1917, it was only 9 holes. Yeah, 9 holes. I'm pretty sure it's written here, actually, because I wrote it down here. Wedges on the hard. 2,584.
2,584. 5,000 yard course.
Well, Rob, it's an interesting clip. Ballybunion used to be 9 holes. It used to be 2,500 yards. We're talking about very short, but the equipment, as you saw from the video, was absolutely different than the equipment today. And we kind of have to talk about golf ball rollback, equipment changes. Even when I was at Pine Valley this past weekend, you see new tees that are being developed to kind of adjust for the equipment. You and I might have some disagreements on this. I don't know, but where do you kind of stand on how this changes? I mean, is there coming a point where we just can't go any further with the golf ball and equipment because golf courses just aren't going to work?
There's not enough land. I mean, especially for so many clubs that are already in existence. One, the cost to maintain them, to fertilize, water, punch, mow, all of the extra acreage to build 8,000 yard courses. It's got to make existing classics like Cypress Point and even Pine Valley obsolete. It already is in many ways. There might be some exceptions, like out west, Tiger Woods is building an 8,000 yard course in Utah. Okay, well, that makes a little bit of sense when you consider the altitude and how far the ball's flying, and it's freaking Utah. Like,
Sure.
they got no shortage of land, right? But for the rest of us, really, I think it comes down to maintenance costs. Golf's expensive enough, for every $1 million it costs to build a course, it's $100 per round to play. So $15 million build, you're looking at $150 greens fee, and up and up and up and up and up. So it just comes down to, for me, costs, maintenance, water shortages.
Sure.
People complaining about how expensive the game of golf is, and then wondering why. Well, it costs a shitload to maintain them. You want firm and fast greens. You know what it costs to have firm and fast greens when you're not.
There's a reason that a lot of clubs are they keep the greens a little slow and soft, because it's just a lot easier to maintain. Look, I can go both ways in this argument, because I do believe that there's a lot of people playing golf that they don't hit it far enough for the game to be enjoyable to them at normal tees. And so I don't see average amateurs hitting it too far. It's more on the pro level. But one of the nice things about golf that I think is appealing is that we play the same equipment as the pros do, the same golf balls the pros do, and we can play on the same courses that the pros do, unlike any other sport where we're never competing on their playing field. It's not like if you're playing a pickup baseball game, you're going to Wrigley Field and playing. So that's one of the nice things about golf. I will say this, at Pine Valley, what was interesting is that I only hit driver once in 18 holes. Now, we didn't play the tips. We played the regular men's tees.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible to overpower that golf course. I don't think if the golf ball went another 20 yards that it would matter there, for the simple fact of it's all about your second shots, and you can't go for the par fives and two, for instance. There's just no place for the ball to land. It's so well designed that it really makes your second shots have to be precise, or you're going to shoot a bundle.
Well, and if you look at, you made a great point about the yardage debate being, pretty exclusively about the pros. I don't care how much AI technology Boeing puts into a Callaway driver to make it go, be an extra mile per hour or two faster, maybe, or they change the weighting, or, if you have a bent left elbow on your takeaway or a flying right elbow at the top of your swing, if you can't get out of a bunker without blading it into the face of it, and you don't have a decent putting stroke and can't read greens, I don't care what technology you insert into the amateur game, it's not going to make too much of a difference.
Exactly.
Like, the only thing that's going to make a real difference for amateur golfers is taking lessons, knowing what they're working on, and practicing it, like over and over and over and over and over, and playing more often. I mean, for someone like me, I switch clubs, because maybe something makes me feel more confident, or I like the look of it or the feel of it. Does it make me better at this stage? Probably not. If I have the wrong stuff in my hand, like clubs that don't fit, shafts that don't work, yeah, that's different. But like, at this point, I switch clubs largely because I can't. Like I'm able to. I'm able
Because
to afford.
Rob, let's be honest. It's because we're addicts.
We're
And,
addicts.
it's fine. It's our drug.
And it's a drug, and it's like, oh, new shiny toy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For the pros, they are kind of making the game obsolete. I mean, you look at Bryson and Rory and these guys, like, I tell people all the time, if you want to make golf courses harder for them, you don't need to make them longer. That doesn't make it harder for them.
No, it doesn't.
It
doesn't.
You could have a 500-yard par 4, and Bryson and Rory are going to have a pitching wedge in. Like, that doesn't make it harder for them. What it does is it drives up the costs for the people that play at those courses the other 51 weeks of the year. And
give us bunkers like the devil's asshole. That makes a golf course harder.
that like, what makes things harder for those guys is unpredictability, because they are creatures of habit. Like, Justin Thomas made a remark about, people say, oh, well, making my 8-iron go 10 yards shorter is not that big of a deal. But he's like, they just don't understand at this level what a big deal that is. And it's like, bullshit. Hit a 7-iron.
Yeah.
Like, they know exactly how far they hit it. They know how far they hit it into the wind, downwind, downhill lie, uphill lie. They're hitting 500 balls a day. The idea that they cannot make a 10-yard adjustment is absolutely freaking ludicrous. And then the problem is when the fans get into is everybody is so obsessed with the long ball. They equate hitting it far with being good. It's like this. It's this.
I can attest that doesn't make you good. So it's
this like size queen machismo stuff. Like Donald Trump cares so much about the size of Arnold Palmer's unit. Like, oh, that makes you a man. You're really.
I was wondering how long we were going to record today before we brought up Arnold Palmer and the size of his manhood.
And to be honest, like, good for Arnold Palmer. Like that's awesome. But like, I don't think it's going to hurt the game to roll the ball back. I actually think it would be fine to continue the advancements for the rest of us. But again, like,
golf is still going to be awesome no matter what they do. It's still going to be great.
I just don't get too excited about the debate. But I will say, having watched the Solheim Cup in person, I really would rather watch the ladies play, to tell you the truth, because it is far more relatable. They hit shots that we hit. They are trying to curve it. They're trying to keep it away from trouble instead of just blowing it by whatever the trouble is. They're not in the woods all day looking for golf balls.
Yeah.
My only complaint with them is they play kind of slow, like they take too much time over the ball. But that's true of the PGA Tour too.
Absolutely.
I think that is the biggest threat to the game of golf.
Slow play.
Is slow play. God, I just can't stand slow play. Like, you can shoot 100 in 3 hours and 55 minutes. I am convinced. Right. I am convinced of it. Like, and if you take a typical amateur golfer, and I'm not putting ourselves on a pedestal here, but I've yet to see somebody who, is a 18 or higher handicap where standing over the ball longer or thinking longer is a good thing, because they're already shooting in the 90s and 100s because they don't know what they're doing. Right. So spending more time thinking about the wrong thoughts is not going to make you better. It's just going to make you
go to your ball, hit it again. Keep up with the pace of play.
100%. Like, I mean, there are rounds I play where I don't take practice swings. I don't read putts. Mike McGettrick's not going to love this portion of the interview because, he wants me to take more practice swings and spend more time. So does
a woman that's a Maggie Roller who teaches me, and I love Maggie. She's just wanting these practice. She's like, you got to take, and I'm like, I just can't do it. It just takes too much time. Like,
let's go.
Anyway,
all right, let's do it.
Let's go here. We're going to watch 2 clips of Aiden talking about the redesign of Ballybunion and also tour events that have taken place at Ballybunion.
1928, we went from 9 and 12 holes up to 18 holes. Fred Smith, he made the big structural changes of the course, like, which looks fairly similar to what it is today. And then it was actually Tom Simpson. Not many people anyway know who Tom Simpson is. You know your golf. I ask a lot of people this, and a lot of them don't know. But Tom Simpson would have been one of the greatest architects, ever. Except he worked through 2 world wars. So Tom Simpson, he would have went to County Loud and did Beltray after here, and more Fontaine, especially in France. Like, it's one of the best courses in France. But he's the one that really polished the course. Back in 1936, we were going to host the Irish Close in 1936 or 37. So they brought him in, and he really refined, the approach, shots, the greens, the way the ball. Oh, it wasn't major work. Some of it was major works, and the fact was, we had a very important secretary, who was secretary from 1926 to 51, William McCarthy. We didn't have the money back in 1936 to do all the changes that Tom Simpson wanted to do, but William McCarthy made sure that we kept pumping money into the course when we could. And because of that, we used to have a tin shed up to 1952. He stepped down in 51, and the first thing they did was build the clubhouse, because he insisted money in the course, don't be wasting the club. We've only hosted 2 professional tournaments. And the reason, is it's really the space for spectators. The Irish Open back in 2000, Millennium Irish Open, Tom Watson was the captain, and the sponsor of Murphy's, was a member of the club, and he insisted on that coming here, but at the same time, spectators were reduced to 12,000, so it wasn't financially viable.
Well, Rob, on the fact that on tour events at Ballybunion, it's not really set up in such a way to host 30,000 spectators for a weekend. It's just not that golf course. And frankly, whether it wasn't that successful when they had the Irish Open there, because again, if they're taking the rough down to make balls be findable, then it makes the course a lot easier. If they keep the rough in the fescue really high and they're losing balls, it's going to screw up the pace of play for a big tournament like that. There's just no place to put the spectators. And I'm kind of fine with that. I'm fine with some of these great golf courses not hosting big events. There are certain courses that are made for television and big events. RTJ is one of those. That is a golf course that's just perfect for a lot of spectators. The Memorial, Muirfield Village, is made for a lot of spectators. Ballybunion and Pine Valley, these are courses that should not have big tournaments. It's not meant for that.
Yeah, and that's part of their charm too. If you're putting on events like this, there are a few things that you have to consider out of the gate. One is, where is everyone going to sleep? From the players to the fans to the people working the event. We stayed in the nicest hotel in Ballybunion, and how many rooms do you think that hotel had?
20, maybe?
Maybe, right?
Maybe 20.
So where's everybody going to stay? Then the next questions are, where's everyone going to park? Where's everybody going to eat? And where's everybody going to go to the bathroom? And if you don't have the infrastructure and the facilities in place, you think of the most core basic elements of the human experience. Where are we going to sleep? Where are we going to eat? Do you have bathrooms? Where are we going to park?
Right.
Do I have to walk over? So it just doesn't have the infrastructure for it. And again, I agree with you. That's fine. I think it's meant to be played the way we played it.
Right. All right. We're going to go and play 3 clips here from Aiden. One talking about the New Yorker article that put Ballybunion on the map, Tom Watson's impact, Jack Nicklaus playing there, President Bill Clinton, another honorary member, and then also the interclub championships that they have between the clubs.
Another very important point in our history is 1969. You ever hear of Herbert Warren Wind? Famous writer. So he coined the term Amen Corner, but he came here in 19...
Oh, wow. Okay.
He came here in 1969 and he wrote in the New Yorker magazine about Ballybunion, and he basically summed it up when he said it's the finest seaside links he's ever seen. That was the first trickle of Americans, people from abroad who came to here. This is the pictures from Tom Watson when he came here in 1981. This is the first time he was here. got presented with Crystal. Morris Fahey was the captain back then, you know, and drew thousands to watch him. He wasn't expecting anyone to be watching him, to be honest, but he drew thousands. So he came here in '82, again he came in '84, he came multiple times over the years. Like he used to generally come before the Open Championship to practice. We also had Jack Nicklaus here back in '89, and he unfortunately close to the Gulf War times his jet got hung up in Shannon Airport. So I mean, it was like a bit of a bear coming here. Like so, his first shot went straight into the graveyard. You're going to see something here you won't see in many clubs. The President of America came to Ballybunion in 1998. You know, our tallest at the time invited him, and Bill Clinton came here in 1998, and he took the whole day to play golf here. Like, well, you know, he took his day off. He took a day off to play golf here, like, which is unusual for presidents. You know, to come abroad and play. Members loved him here, like, whatever, you know. But he went in to put up a statue before he came, just so he went uptown, and he did go uptown and unveil the statue. But members loved them here because they had a marquee and we got free drink. So. This is basically our silver trophy cabinet. Every club has one like. It's all the championships played for in this club, and all of our championships aren't. We had Wentworth here last weekend in the match, so they had the plate that we play for Wentworth. So I mean, you know, general clubs, golf clubs, you see the silver cabinet is our silver cabinet. These are the first two teams from Ballybunion that played in the Ransom Cup. The first one was 1989 and 1991. 1989 was at home. 1991 was the first one in Pine Valley.
Okay, Rob, so the few things I want to unpack about those videos. Number one, you mentioned this earlier. Tom Watson is Mr. Ballybunion. Tom Watson's your favorite players, if not your favorite player. Your dog is actually named Watson. You know, so like, tell me a little bit about what Tom Watson's impact on Ballybunion means to you, and how much more special it makes the experience at Ballybunion.
It does, and so Tom Watson obviously is one of my favorite golfers of all time. He was my dad's favorite, and my dad passed away in 2020 from cancer, and you know, he's who got, you know, my dad got me interested in golf and was really my major teacher in golf growing up. And when he passed away during the pandemic, I decided to get another English bulldog and named him Watson after Tom Watson in honor of my dad. And
Jordan, let's make sure we get a picture up on the screen of Watson, because I mean, this is a good looking dog. Yeah. We need our audience to see Watson. Yeah. There we go.
So Watson's a good boy, and he loves coming out on the golf course, and you know, just, you know, being out here with me, and that's great. So with Ballybunion, it hits on so many levels with me. I mean, one, I just love the golf course. It speaks for itself. It doesn't need me to sell it. But just the connections of important things to me, like Tom Watson's important to me. Like, you know, my dad constantly growing up would give me tips that he learned, you know, from Tom Watson and Tom Watson stories. So that connection to Ballybunion's important. Obviously President Clinton, I've been a big fan of President Clinton for a long time, and went to Georgetown, and, you know, his affinity for Ballybunion makes it extra special for me. And then
there's a statue. There's a statue of
Bill statue there.
And Jordan, let's get a picture of the statue up for everybody to see. I love this. And one of the things I regret, Rob, is we didn't get out of the van. You and I should have taken a picture with the statue. That would have been great for golf and politics. Great statue.
There's that connection. And then the triple whammy is Robert Trent Jones, you know, so you've got his connection to the club. So between Bill Clinton, RTJ, and Tom Watson, and then, you know, a lot of my friends that I've made there and experiences I've had there, you know, being at Ballybunion is just as special a place to me as exists in the world, not just in golf, but in the world. And so I have that affinity. But for those of you who aren't fans of Bill Clinton or RTJ or Tom Watson, the golf course itself, you know, is not really debatable. I mean, it's just
it's not just Watson. I mean, Nicholas has gone multiple times to play. Mickelson has gone multiple times to play. Tiger and Rory played there together a couple years ago before the Open Championship. I mean, this is a golf club that everybody in the world believes is right up there. You know, I mean, there's nobody that's saying, "Oh, that place is trash." It's first class all the way. And I want to just comment too on this interclub championships that go back and forth. And I was actually surprised that Ballybunion as a club hasn't done so well in those interclub championships. But again, back to the culture of Irish golf. I mean, there is a great rivalry of towns playing golf against each other. I can't remember which hotel we were staying. It must have been in Westport. There was a whole bunch of kids from one town that had come into Westport to play in a golf match against the kids from that community. In these clubs, they have these matches, and there's a lot of bragging rights on the line, and they have a scratch game and a net game, and I mean, it's a big deal. And even the caddies have a lot of pride in their home club and will defend their home club on why it's the best in the area. I don't see a lot of that going on in the United States. I'd actually love to see more of it, more interclub championships.
And it's and they have the history, right? I mean, a lot of stuff over here is new. I mean, my club even is only 33 years old. Those clubs have been there since the 1800s in many cases. So, it's built into the fabric of their local community, and they're playing for more than just themselves. They're playing for their club. They're playing for their town. They're playing for bragging rights. And I love listening to, members from Ballybunion and Lahinch argue over which one's better. And, you've got two clubs that are top 20 in the planet, and they're both fantastic. And you would be lucky to play any of them once in your life, let alone regularly. I think Ballybunion's better. I do, but Lahinch is also fantastic. But it's like you said, they're playing for their town, they're playing for pride. Right. It means more. It's why I think the Europeans care more about the Ryder Cup. Right. To them, it's their major. To us, it like to the fans, I think they care, but like their players grow up from age 8 at their local club in their community, and they dream of playing in the Ryder Cup. Our guys dream of winning the U.S. Open or a green jacket. It's a very individual game here.
And I'll be honest, I believe that the European culture around golf is better than the United States culture around golf.
I do too.
I'm not saying our culture is bad. I'm just saying there's too much individualism in the United States game versus the European game. I mean, it shows in how we perform poorly in foursomes in the Ryder Cup historically, because Europeans are growing up playing foursomes. A lot of times they have to. They get rounds done quicker, and so they want to make sure everyone's playing foursomes. And there's just a more of a camaraderie in the game that I'd love to see influenced into the American game, where people aren't just so consumed with their score and their handicap. Like, what would be wrong if we just started going and playing foursomes more often? I mean, I think a lot of fun.
Especially in the afternoon. Like, there are a lot of clubs over there where you might play 4-ball in the morning and then have lunch and go out in the afternoon and play foursomes, which, you whip around there. It doesn't take a lot of energy. And a lot of those courses are built for match play. Like, you mentioned at Ballybunion, the four of us, none of us broke 80 that day in the wind. I mean, it was a hard day, but that course is built for match play.
Yeah.
Like, because at any given moment, I don't care how good you are, you miss a shot by a smidgen. I was going to use a bad word. You're making a 7.
Right.
Like, and I don't care if you have the hands of an angel. Like, you get into some spots where you're not getting out of it.
Right.
And when people get so obsessed about their individual score, like, that's part of what I think made our group work so well, is that we weren't hyper obsessed about just the golf. I thought our group to Ireland really out of the gate kind of clicked personally, and it was more about the fun and the experience. And yeah, we cared about the matches, and of course we all had our moments where we got upset with bad shots, but I think overall we're not going to remember any of that shit 10 years from now. We're going to remember how great the guys were,
Right.
how beautiful it was, how fun it was, the funny stories, like, and that's what match play gives you. Like, if it was a stroke play event and we had to add up every freaking stroke we took on that trip, we'd all want to hang ourselves. Like,
But, you know, one thing, can you imagine how fun us playing foursomes, Casey and I and you and Nick, you and Casey be cussing Nick and I out constantly for some of the positions that we put you in off the tee. But we'll have to do that on the next one of these next trips. Play
I
some
mean, you guys
foursomes.
could hit a 4-iron 230 yards. Just hit the damn 4-iron. Like, I don't care how close you get me to the green. Just put me in play.
Hey,
Like,
I did that at Pine Valley, Rob. You've been proud of me. I hit driver once. I hit nothing but 3-irons, hybrids, hit 5-iron a few times off the tee. And I hit a lot of, I think I hit 10 fairways, you know. I was very proud of putting it in play. And the reason I got a couple bad numbers is I just wasn't hitting my irons to the greens very well. It was some intimidating second shots for sure.
I know we're going to cover this in a future episode, but real quick, what was the first moment of the day at Pine Valley, whether it was pulling in or on the course or after, where you were like, holy shit, this is special? What was that first moment where you were like, wow, this is number one?
Well, I mean, it's always been on my list of like, you want to play because it's consistently ranked number one. So, I mean, just hearing Pine Valley, I mean, the only thing that would get me maybe more excited to go play golf than Pine Valley would be Augusta National, right? I mean, because it's just so exclusive to get on. But as far as just pure golf course architecture and design, since the time I'm 12, 13 years old, all you ever see is Pine Valley number one consistently. So just knowing the night before when you came to me at dinner and you put your arm around me and said, how would you like to take my spot? Man, it was for sure. I was ginned up and excited from that moment. But I would say for real, like it really hit me. Number two is breathtaking from the tee. Yeah. And I took some pictures with my iPhone, and I don't believe that the pictures do it justice. I don't know that I've ever seen a hole as pretty as number two. And here's the other thing. Every hole was great. There was not one single hole that it wasn't. But number two, it just really hits you like, holy smokes, look at this design. Look at that bunkering on the hillside. There's no way you want to go through the fairway and be on that hillside. And even on number one, we go to tee off and there's a sign there, no mulligans. Right off the bat, it's just cool. It's a great place, and it's relentless from hole 1 to hole 18. You feel like you're just getting punched in the face constantly.
And so asked me the same question about, for me, the first time I played Pine Valley, that moment for me was also the second tee box.
Yeah.
It was just sort of that, like, holy shit, this place is different.
Yeah.
And it's not my favorite hole on the course. It's a great hole. I had the same feeling when you kind of walk over the crest of the hill on number 4 and then number 5 tee box, and then the first glimpse of number 18 you get, behind the 9th green.
18 is breathtaking.
Yeah.
Well, finishing up our Ireland episode, and we're going to, I know we'll have another episode. We talk more about Pine Valley, but Gerard Burke, we can't say enough about him. Let's watch this toast that we made to Gerard at our last night in Ballybunion. All right, Rob, any final words we want to?
No, get a good group together, come to Ireland, hire Gerard and Aiden, and get over here. It's most people think of it as a once-in-a-lifetime trip. I like to think of it as a once-a-year trip. Hopefully more soon, but great trip, great group of guys, great hosts. Couldn't ask for anything better.
For the guys on this trip that I've already known, it's great to be with you. And for those that are my new friends, thank you for making this
just an incredible trip. And Gerard, we were saying earlier, and we'll say it to your face now, it's not every day you get to spend time with somebody that's the best in the world at what they do. You're the best in the world at what you do, and you made this week even better than it could have been. So thank you.
Cheers. Cheers. Yeah, let's go.
All right. Cheers. Cheers.
Okay, Rob, you clearly have built an incredible friendship with Gerard, and I know, speaking from everybody that was on that trip, we thank you for introducing us to Gerard, because now we feel like he's our friend as well, and I've just not met too many people that immediately upon meeting somebody that they just have a magnetism about them that brings you in, makes you feel like Gerard makes us feel like we've known him for as many years as you have, and treated us all so incredibly well. Everything on that trip was first class. And I mean, there was not one thing that I could sit there and say, boy, I wish it was different. And so just, you've done all these trips with Gerard. What makes him so special?
What makes him so special, beyond what you just said, is that if you went back to Ireland next week and Gerard wasn't part of the trip, it wouldn't be as good.
That's right.
You know, he's such a part of it. He loves this country. He loves America as well. He is fascinated by people. He's really good at getting them to talk and just listening and asking questions. He makes you feel comfortable the whole trip. And you can just tell he's happy you're there, not just from a business standpoint, but because he really does enjoy interpersonal relationships. He excels at them. He loves the game of golf, and he's proud of his country, and he's proud to show it to visitors. And it's abundantly clear to me that he's attained what I call the real measure of success in life. And that's when you get paid to do things that you'd be willing to do for free. When you get paid to do your hobbies, you know, that is something that's really special. I mean, he loves golf and he loves Ireland, and he gets paid to do golf in Ireland. And he's just a world-class person. And, you know, I mean, he's not my friend, he's our friend. And he, you know, anybody could feel comfortable reaching out to him at any time. And my favorite thing about bringing these groups together is throughout the year when people send selfies, you know, with each other, you know, oh, we were both in Arizona on business and we got around a golf in, or we met up at a pub, independently of me being a part of it. And it both makes me thrilled to see those relationships flourish. It also makes me wish I was there. So Gerard is just so good at what he does. I've never been on a trip with anybody running it who does it any better than he does. You know, we've done probably 9 or 10 of them at this point, and I can't wait for the next 9 or 10. He's that good, and I can't say enough nice things about him.
Well, and I have to say, Rob, I mean, I believe in a lot of ways you're very similar to Gerard in the way that you put these things together, and just you pour into other people and you give so much into building these relationships. You know, if it wasn't for you putting this together, this trip wouldn't have been nearly as fun. You played a big role in it as well. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate getting invited and allowing one of my best friends for the last 25 years to come on the trip. And now I feel like I have 5 or 6, I guess 6 guys that I really didn't know before the trip, or 5 guys that I didn't know before the trip that now are great friends. I mean, when I saw Bob Kyle at the MG Cup, and Joey Burns and Nick Kirsch and Ken Steele, like, I mean, they got hugs like their family. I mean, you know, you do a great job of bringing people together and building an incredible network where people that would never probably connect for other reasons come together through the game of golf and build, I believe, what will end up being a lot of lifelong friendships. So thank you for all you've done too.
I appreciate that. And I mean, how do you not love Bob Gordon Kyle Jr.?
He's never told a lie. He's never told a lie.
And then you've got Joey Burns coming in from Mexico City by way of Steubenville, Ohio, the Ohio Valley. I mean, just steady as they come, no dramas, just nice guy. Nick, beyond being a great player, Nick is just, every time I'm around Nick Kirsch, I smile. Like,
me too.
I'm either laughing with him, laughing at him. But Nick is.
I've told the story a bunch of times about Nick, how I was 17 years old and thought that I was becoming this great golfer, really, going to go play in college, and thought I was the best junior golfer in the town. And Nick comes over, plays this 9-hole tournament, and he was 11 or 12 years old and just whipped my ass. I was 17. And so I remember Nick Kirsch, and he didn't obviously remember me. But now we have this friendship, and it's great.
He's such a talented player. And one of my favorite things after every round, like you can hear Nick dissecting his round from half a mile away. And I take interest in his recaps of his rounds, not because I genuinely fucking care, but because he puts more passion into why a pitch shot didn't hold the green, or how a 4-iron got away from him and rolled into some swale. But I get such a kick out of hearing his recaps that, I really enjoy it. And he's such a good person. I really enjoy him. And then you've got Brad Cheney, my business partner, studies to come, really good dude. Ken Steele from Chicago might be in competition with Bob Gordon Kyle Jr. for nicest person. And I don't know if we're missing anybody else. I think that's everybody. Did we give a recap?
Well, Casey Lang, my friend, who, I think Casey, in some ways, he was like, I'm going to go on this trip with a bunch of guys I've never met, and I mean, he fit right in. I mean, it was just fantastic.
He's a great guy. I mean, I was really bummed he didn't make it to MG Cup this year, but he's staying on the list, and Casey's just a solid dude, really good golfer. And like you said, the only person he knew on the trip was you. Like, that was true for some of the other guys on the trip as well, where you're kind of just taking a leap of faith, and you really have to make an effort on the get-go, because I've been on some of these trips before that didn't work. And sometimes you get people that don't know each other, and like they're feeling each other out. You've got egos you're dealing with. Some of them are more demanding on like restaurants, or they're trying to put on a show, either on how good they are at golf, or like how much money they make, or this, that, or the other. You get these invariable blank measuring contests, if you will. And one turd in a small punch bowl makes
one too many. It's one too many.
As one too many. And with 8 people in a van, if you got one piece of shit in that van becomes a piece of shit.
That's right.
Like, and we luckily got 8 really good guys, and then with Gerard, just, it clicked, and that's why the trip worked. We could have played really shitty golf courses, and the trip still would have worked, because we had the right people who were committed to having a good time instead of, being the best golfer, or being the best this, or being whatever. It was all about having a good time, enjoying it, and living the moment.
Well, I want to close this with 2 things. Number one, repeat something that Rob has said. If you're on a budget with your golf game, maybe take $2,500 and don't buy that new set of clubs, because you're not going to remember if you had the brand new set of clubs every year, but you will remember trips like this. And it doesn't have to just be to Ireland. It can be even a golf trip to North Carolina or to Texas or wherever. Just being with great people and playing at a golf trip together is something that you'll never regret, and you'll remember it forever. Number 2, like Gerard, who's reached this true level of success of making money doing what he loves to do and is doing anyway, Rob and I want to do the same thing with Golf and Politics. So download Golf and Politics and recruit your friends to listen to our show. We want to grow this so we can start making some money doing it as well. But no, we love doing this, and we thank everybody for listening. Download the episodes anywhere you get your podcasts. You can follow us on social media at Golf and Politics on Instagram and Facebook, golf.politics on TikTok, Golf Politics Pod on X. and you can download video episodes on YouTube. So we appreciate everybody that's been listening, and I hope you have a great day.